to meet you and good to have you with us. Could you just introduce yourself, tell us about your role and a bit about the business that you work for?
Sure. So my name is Nick Heinzmann. My role is head of research at Zip. I work with a lot of our customers, other companies in the industry, as well as third-party researchers to figure out where the profession and technology is going and help advise on direction for Zip.
Yeah. And you've just been part of a fireside, I believe. What are the kind of key things that came out of that fireside, the key messages maybe?
In our fireside, we had our customer, Northwestern Mutual, on stage with us. Chris Key, VP of Sourcing and Procurement there, discussed a lot of the approach he's taking to modernizing his organization. And that really goes through a few key lenses, specifically what we call Procurement 3.0. This evolution as procurement has been tasked with a wider remit in the organization, touching things like risk, sustainability, innovation, in addition to their key job around cost, quality, and delivery on time in full. And really, what Chris and I discussed in that session was the shifted mindset required in order to handle this mandate to do more with less. And really, it's a mandate that we saw with Procurement 3.0, which is really an AI and orchestration-based approach to modernizing both technical infrastructure, the operating model, and really the strategy behind procurement. It comes down to a few key elements, but really looking at how legacy systems have built us into a more rigid or linear process, how many people, when they're trying to transform to meet these strategic goals, are being challenged with data silos, systems that don't talk to or connect with each other, and visibility gaps in the process and the relationships with stakeholders. And really the way that Northwestern Mutual and many of Zip's customers, 500 of which have already taken the leap to a procurement orchestration-based process, is one where going upstream to shape demand and interaction with stakeholders becomes a key input to influencing the downstream process.
Yeah, okay. And the event itself brings together executives from supply chain, sustainability, and procurement. What do you think are the potential benefits of this approach?
It's really important these days because as I've looked at this year, especially across different themes in the procurement or supply chain profession, you really see this convergence of different topics. And when it comes to things like sustainability, supply chain resilience, dealing with things like tariffs, they all require a coordinated approach internally. No one function controls every aspect of all of the issues a business needs to face these days. And this is really why when we talk about, in our view, Procurement 3.0, one is based on orchestration. It's about centralizing and coordinating all of the data, the processes and tools involved in managing these very cross-functional issues. Really, we see leaders in these functions stepping up into this role where they are not only responding to these issues, but trying to dynamically lead the organization through many of these challenges, because in order to coordinate everything from where supply is coming from to how it gets on the shelves to how we're making sure that not only the materials or the pieces are going in a sustainable way, but also it affects the brand. And really these high-level issues that reach C-level discussions need to be coordinated across these different leaders. So they actually must converge in order to respond to these challenges today.
Yeah, thank you. And finally, do you have any takeaways from the event so far?
My takeaway, and we were discussing this just last night at a dinner we held on this subject, is that we can't ignore the AI question anymore. For a long time, and I've been researching technology in procurement for about a decade at this point, AI was always this omnipresent but background topic. People have been using it, experimenting with it for many years. But increasingly, we're seeing this, and Chris, in our session with Northwestern Mutual, mentioned an urgent need to reskill around understanding AI and figuring out how it will affect both the skills needed, the day-to-day work balance, the workload of a procurement or supply chain professional, and then also how it reshapes the structure of teams. Increasingly, we're going to see a lot of emphasis, less so on the traditional nuts and bolts type of work done in procurement and much more on those relational aspects, working with stakeholders more effectively, embedding in the business to build more of a strategy, whether that's around categories or supplier relationships, in order to get to those more strategic aims that we were just discussing, even those brand level ones. Increasingly, I'm hearing everyone come up to either a booth, a conversation, and trying to ask about where are you on this subject of AI? How are you reskilling or adapting your team? Where are you getting your information from even? And that's a surprise to me even, because even in the last 6 months, I've seen this rapidly become the topic that everyone is asking about. And it's exciting, but also a little bit terrifying.